After that, Yunsu had disappeared from Chaya's life for more than a year. Her memories of him were beginning to fade, so she started writing a book about the two of them. Her editor, however, wanted to change the main character, saying he came across as too much of a jerk. She even asked if Chaya had something against him since she had portrayed him so negatively, calling him things like a food-deprived sloth and a blob of wet seaweed. She also added that Yunsu seemed insufferable and petty, which made Chaya wonder if he had really come off that badly. Then the editor asked what the ending would be, what happened to the two of them, and whether it was a happy ending. Chaya replied that maybe it was, since they had finally freed themselves. But the editor pressed further, saying she wanted to know what became of them. At that, Chaya thought to herself that he had ghosted her. About a year ago, in a castle in England, Gemino had reluctantly taken on the role of head, as the last surviving member of the Grey family. On that particular day, Yunsu had come to visit him. He started the conversation by calling Gemino a lock, to which Gemino replied that Yunsu looked more like a lock than he did. Yunsu had heard that a blind vampire with clairvoyance was now ruling the castle, but he hadn't known it was Gemino. He added that Gemino probably knew why he had come. Gemino said he did. Yunsu had come for Leo and Gurim. Then, in typical fashion, Gemino reminded him that they weren't close enough to be asking favors like that, and asked if Yunsu had no shame. Yunsu replied that Gemino was just as shameless for taking over as the lord of the castle after father's death. Gemino then asked if Yunsu would like to take his place instead, and Yunsu declined without hesitation. Eventually, Gemino agreed to help him, but only under one condition. Yunsu had to go on the run and take the blame for Grey's death. He explained that the two factions, those who had supported Grey and those who opposed him, were now fighting over who should die, but what they really wanted was to compete for the empty seat of power. They needed a scapegoat, and Gemino needed Yunsu to be that scapegoat to delay the inevitable vampire war. He added that it wasn't entirely false anyway. Grey's killer was Han Chaya, and her accessory to the murder, Park Yunsu. Wasn't it better for Yunsu to take the blame than for Chaya to be on the run again? It would only be for 1 year. After that, Yunsu could go see her. Back in the present, the editor asked Chaya if they had broken up. The ending of her manuscript made it seem like the two characters had confessed their feelings to each other. So did they really like one another? Chaya couldn't give an answer, so the editor asked again if she liked him. Caught off guard, Chaya was surprised. At that moment, the editor's fork fell to the ground. As she bent down to pick it up, Chaya's eyes widened in shock. Sitting just in front of her was Yunsu, and he mouthed the words, "I am waiting." Chaya stood up in surprise, then quickly sat back down when she noticed the editor looking confused. The editor asked her again to clarify whether the characters had confessed to each other in the final scene. Embarrassed, Chaya replied with a hesitant maybe, but the editor pressed further, insisting that they must have at least kissed or something. Turning red, Chaya shouted at her to be quiet and reluctantly agreed to come up with a clearer ending. The editor advised her to make Yunsu a little less deranged and more human. Just then, her fork dropped again, and as she bent down to pick it up, Chaya's expression shifted to one of anger. She glared at him, demanding silently to know why he was there. He simply shrugged in response, which only made her angrier. She raised her middle finger at him and told him to get out of her sight. Unfortunately, the editor rose at that exact moment and mistakenly thought the gesture was directed at her. Chaya could only think to herself how impossible it was to portray Yunsu as more human when he just sat there laughing silently. Then the editor brought up the umbrella scene, the moment when the main character started falling for Yunsu. Chaya responded bitterly that she hated that scene now, all while crying on the inside. With that, the meeting came to an end. Chaya figured she'd probably be stuck dealing with Yunsu again, but when she glanced across the table, he had already disappeared. She went home feeling paranoid, checking every corner and calling out, convinced he would surprise her at any moment. She shouted into the empty apartment, daring him to come out if he was hiding, but the place was completely silent. No one was there. Disappointed, she went to take a shower. As the water ran, she fumed, wondering if he thought she was still hung up on him. It had always been difficult for her to open her heart, and now he was just toying with her again. When she came out of the shower, she froze. Yunsu was lounging on her sofa, casually reading her script. Shocked, she asked how long he had been there. But instead of answering, he asked if she was writing a novel about them, commenting that it felt tame compared to what had really happened. Chaya's face turned a deep red from embarrassment, and she shouted at him to get up. Then she ran toward him, trying to snatch the paper, but Yusu dodged her and asked if she wasn't being too harsh with him in her writing. He then teased her, asking if she missed him so much that she had to write a whole novel about him. Chaya chased after him and punched him square in the face. She shouted that she was planning to screw him over and make money by selling his stories everywhere. Yusu asked if that meant she was heartbroken, adding that he missed her too. He said he had only ever wanted to come back to her, and then he kissed her. Just then, her phone started ringing. Yunsu picked it up and asked who the caller, Kim Seon-woo, was. Chaya replied that it was no one, but he persisted, wanting to know why this man was calling her. Then he tossed the phone toward her, telling her to answer it. She picked it up and the man on the other end asked why she hadn't been reading his texts. Chaya replied that someone kept bothering her. The man said he wanted to change the timing of their date, and she responded that it was okay to cancel if he was busy. Yunsu came closer and told her to go, saying that it would be fun. Chaya wondered why he was getting angry. They weren't in a relationship, so he had no right to be upset. The man then asked what she preferred for dinner, and she replied that anything other than steak was fine. She added that a certain someone had made her eat it so much that she was sick of it, all while glaring at Yunsu. After the call ended, the two of them stood facing each other with their arms crossed, clearly annoyed. Then Yunsu asked if she had been seeing other men while writing his story. She shot back, asking if he really expected her to wait for him the whole time. Yunsu started laughing, then stepped closer and said that tomorrow would be an enjoyable day, although he wasn't entirely sure. Then he disappeared, leaving Chaya to wonder alone what he had meant.